Might and glory vanished from the skies, leaving just another story, misleads man-made lies. They tell us how you fell from the sky. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American Hour. I'm your host, Clay Douglas. My guest today is VK Durham. Grandma to me. Grandma to me. Hello, Grandma. How are you?
Hello there. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, darling.
Well, I think that's great. I wish I could say the same for the country.
Well, it's in a pretty bad mess. And there's one thing I think I found. I think I found the story I was talking to you about earlier, and I just wanted to make a mention because I think, you know, some of this has is what's happened to you. It's what's happened to you. There was a class action lawsuit for $2.6 trillion filed against the chairman of the SEC for allowing the government to run a sting operation using a fraudulent diamond company. It's been filed, but no news outlet, with the possible exception of the New York Times, has run the story. Have you heard about that?
I briefly glanced at it. Yes, I did. And you know, the Securities Exchange Commission leaves a lot to be desired.
I'm with Virgin Mobile in the Android market.
Oops.
I can play Angry Birds on my phone.
Okay. It's a video, so I don't have, but it was a $3.87 trillion lawsuit, and it's against the SEC, and you have a trust, your family has had a trust called the Durham Trust that's worth a lot of money, and they've tried to kill your husband over it, and they've tried to shortstop this, and you've had people try to steal the whole thing from you. Is that?
Well, they didn't get it done though, Clay. They they did a lot of fancy footwork out there, but they didn't get it done. They didn't get it done. They thought my husband owned it, and he didn't own it. He didn't own any part of it. And so they went around assigning interest out on that thing, and assigning deeds of assignment, and entering into joint venture agreements, taking in gold and all of that stuff. But they had a 50-50 agreement with the Federal Reserve to split 50-50 all the monies that was taken down offshore, you know. But they tried their darndest, Clay, but you know what? 4 years after we buried Russell, they lifted his signature, and then they notarized it. And then they took off on this counterfeiting operation. And, you know, Greenspan and Bush and all of them were just as involved as they could be. Well, what they've done is created for themselves a global nightmare. Because, you know, Russie didn't own a damn thing. That kid didn't even have a decent pair of jockey shorts when he came to me from down, he had been down in El Salvador. I just sent you that article on El Salvador instead. And he was a men and the women that were being slaughtered and thrown off into mass graves. And I'll be danged if they didn't throw him in prison. And it took his business partner, who was Cecilia Zales, who was Ari Onassis of Massive Shipping Lines. It was his cousin. And she had been raised down in Mexico, and they were great friends of the president of Mexico. And they took Celia to go into the president of Mexico's office and hold a pistol at the back of his head until she could get Russell back up into the United States here. And away from that mess down there. If it hadn't been for the Chiapas Indians, Russie wouldn't be alive. But everybody thought that Rusty owned everything, and if Rusty didn't own a thing. That the bunch had stripped him royally. You could run a freight train through that kid's jockey shorts. He weighed 97 pounds when he came to me. He sure did. And that's a hell of a good way for the men, for our government operations to treat their men, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, but they do that.
Now, I don't have any respect for them, and I'm just saying this on this open air line. I wouldn't spit in their ass if their gut was on fire. I think that pretty well explains it.
Now, you have prepared, or somebody has prepared a letter for you. And the one I have is to Governor Jan Brewer of Arizona, where I'm at.
Yes.
And would you like for me to share that?
Well, you can share it all you want, because I believe that's a template that's going to be used for all the republics.
All right, here's what it says. Greetings, we the people of the Republic of Arizona, with great honor and humility, are pleased to present you the Dio Juvante Trust, a sub-trust of the Durham International Limited, a holding trust, founded by the principles set forth by President James Monroe, that the American continents, by the free and independent condition which they have assumed and maintained, are herefore not to be considered as subjects for future colonization by any European power. It was this most virtuous and patriotic decree we are able to come to you today, bearing the burden of proof of our country's greatest and most promising legacy. Enclosed are the documentation and evidence of the true, genuine, authentic ownership of this trust, the duly constituted, lawful, and legitimate source of this collateral, owned by V.K. Durham, CEO of Durham International Limited, a holding trust, TIAS 12087. The ownership established certified chain of title can be viewed here. The most recent calculation by the Los Angeles Federal Reserve Banking Trust determines the amount of accrued interest from May 1st, 1875 to May 1st, 1990. Grandma, I'm not sure I can get these.
Roughly rounding it out, it's 207
quadrillion. I started to say I can't read that many zeros, but the purpose of the mentioned trust shall be to guarantee that no free American go homeless, hungry, or without health care again due to lack of jobs, loss of pension funds, loss of state Social Security, to promote economic development of regional and national developing of the member states of the Union of Republics of the United States of America, by encouraging the establishment of industry, manufacturing, production, repairing flood devastation, encouraging waterways rehabilitation, rebuilding of infrastructure, education, improved health care facilities, improving the national health care for the poor, aged, homeless, disabled, veterans, and lesser advantaged persons, rebuilding the national export by improving the national production of gross domestic product, by expansion, modernization of private enterprise to create research and development for the new sustainable energy sources and new medicines, preferably those that are small to medium scale, in such a way to create jobs and shore up the economic equity base of the Union of Republics and their enterprise. The collateral shall be scrutinized and monetized by the Republic of Arizona, providing immediate full financial independence from the noose of the federal government, and will certainly allow the timely and needed delivery of credit when the Federal Reserve System collapses this year. Working with other republics within the Union of the United States of America, our country can be brought back from the brink of financial catastrophe, considering that this current global banking and financial crisis was brought about by these individuals that deceptively and maliciously led others to believe they owned the Durham instruments when they did not. It's time to put our country back together again. And this was written by Michael Considine, who was on my show here.
Is it Michael something else?
Michael was good. He did a wonderful job talking about the grand juries at the Breakfast Club.
Just a tremendous man. I like him very much. I was very impressed with him. When he called me, and I think it was yesterday that called me, and I had one day before yesterday, I think probably 10, 12 calls in here, and people were just madder than the devil. And they were mad because they had heard that the Durham Trust was going to be underwritten by China for these republics. And I said, what? Why the heck would we be underwritten by China? You know, China owes us. We don't owe them. And so Michael called, and he sent me the letter, and then I called him back, and I said, the first one had some glitches in it, and I said, Mike, if you're going to put this thing together, put it together right, you know. I said, people have to understand what's coming down. And so we worked on this together. And everybody's wondering what the Deus Vivante is. Well, Deus Vivante means God is willing. So, God is willing. And I've always told everybody, I said, this is not V.K. Durham's trust, this is God's trust. This is God's trust. I'm just the witch that's handling it. There's a lot of people thinking that starts with a B, but that's okay. No, everybody tried it. That's what this, and I'm going to tell you something, and all of you better pay close attention. We've got a 3-week plus, maybe minus, window on getting the safety net under these republics with this trust. Now, the reason why I'm saying that, right now you're seeing the Far East blow right straight up.
Oh, by the way, just let me inject in here that the people are starting to riot in Libya now.
I just posted that.
Yes, ma'am.
Gaddafi, he's got a terrible problem over there. But you see, here's what this all boils down to. If you have noticed, excuse me, there has been a systematic taking down of these nations that were original signers into the Bretton Woods Agreement. You had your Latin American nations, and then we had the nations of the Far East. And each one of these, there's been an overthrow of their government, a constant war, the killing of their leaders, the stealing of the nation's gold, and this just goes on and on and on, and it is such a mind-boggling thing. I sit and shake my head constantly over this, because when that Bretton Woods was put together, that was your original World Bank, IMF, General Agreements on Trade and Tariffs. And there was never supposed to be any encroachment into the sovereignties of nations, and I'll be go to hell if they haven't done it to every nation that signed on. And we can't afford it. The wars are too expensive. They've built weapons and weapons and weapons. Let me finish, please. Weapons and weapons and weapons and weapons that kill men and women and women and children. And they've stolen our properties to pay for these wars. No, this has got to stop. This is big business. This war has become big business. They've shut down most of the industry and the manufacturing in here in the United States, while they executed a contract on the Americas in 1994. And we've got to do something to preserve the integrity of the Constitution of the republics of this union. And the only way I can think of it is to use the full weight of this trust to put a safety net under these republics to keep that bunch of bastards that's operating under organized criminal activity of corporations. And you put this trust right there, square on. All right, boys, you wrote all these counterfeit instruments out there thinking they belong to this trust, thinking my husband had ownership when he didn't own a thing. Well, now then we're going to use that very same thing and put a safety net under these republics.
Grandma, on the chat room, Papa Bear is asking, is Grandma able to draw funds off of this trust?
No. I wish I was. None of us would be having these problems right now.
Well, what is...
The Federal Reserve has got us blackballed. So what we've got to do is start up banks within our own republics, reinstate that Glass-Steagall Act, and let that Federal Reserve go down the tubes. Flush it.
But the Goldman Sachs and Morgan they're buying up the banks. They're taking out all of the small banks. That's my understanding.
There is no reason in this world why a republic can't set up her own damn bank.
Well, they did that in North Dakota, dear. They've done that. They have a state bank, and they have no debt. They have no debt.
And the sooner that we look at ourselves in the proper light as the employers of those people sitting in Washington, D.C., putting up a Patriot Act that is actually designed to defend their own asses from what they've done to this country. We've got to get this safety net back under the people. If we don't, then we're going to lose everything. I was just reading an article by one of the presidents of one of the Guatemalan countries, towns. These people are as poor as church mice. They can't even afford food. We're getting the same place. This country is getting to the same place. And why is food so high? Food is so high because they've got to jack up everything to pay for those counterfeit instruments and to pay for the wars that these counterfeit instruments have brought on.
And by the way, they're funding both sides of the wars. That's the way the bankers always do it, and they don't care who dies. They don't care which side dies.
JP Morgan needs to be shook until its kahunas roll on the floor.
Now, shortly, a little while ago, somebody started talking to you about China. Now, on the chat room, they're saying, did she say that China owns the U.S., or did I mishear? And
it'll be a cold day in hell the day China owns the U.S. If they want to own the U.S., by damn, they're going to pay the people the outstanding debt that's owed to this trust, and what was calculated there in 1988 has from May 1st, 1875 to May 1st, 1990. That's got to be brought current, recalculated according to the second London fix as of today. China, you want this goddamn country? Pass.
China is setting up these economic zones that are going to be staffed by Chinese. That's another.
These republics don't have to put up with it.
Okay, now, Grandma, if these banksters, if the Federal Reserve, the people that own the Federal Reserve, are blocking you, they're preventing you from getting any of this money, any access to this money, and if they own the courts, and it looks like it with Kagan in there in the Supreme Court, you know, she was Obama's attorney. I mean, I guess she's the one that got the $2 million to hide the birth certificate issue.
You're not going to be able to get anything done in these courts as crooked and as corrupt as they are today. The very thing that needs to be done is these states need to, and I believe there was a certain bank, and you'll have to talk to Bruce about this, the California people, the bank, they recognize our instruments as legal as hell. But the point of it is, the Federal Reserve won't let it in the system. It'll show up on Treasury gray screen when somebody inquires about it. Then next thing you know, it's gone for 20, maybe 30 days. Okay? Because they want to hide it. Well, there's no, you can't, now listen, kids, I'm going to tell you something. That's like a woman trying to say, well, I'm just a little bit pregnant and I'm going to hide it. Hey, this thing is as real as hell, and it's like a pregnancy. They ain't going to hide it no more. Now, all these states have to do is accept the collateral. We securitize it and monetize it right through the treasuries, and by damn, we can go to hell. There's no reason for this trash to go on. This is trash. This is trash. We've let the employees take over the country. The employees have overthrown the employer. We have a hostile takeover.
We do. We do. Now, there are about 10. There are about 10 states that are really getting on this 10th Amendment movement, and Texas, I think, is one of them. Oklahoma is one of them. And is this a positive? And Arizona is going up against the federal government, especially over the illegal alien issue.
They need to. They need to, because the original Constitution Act, we have got so many foreign corporations in here owning properties in the United States. When the original Immigration Act says no individual, and it says in parens, company shall own property within the United States without having first taken an oath of becoming a citizen of the United States.
Didn't, I believe it was Thomas Jefferson that told us, hold on, Thomas Jefferson told us, if you ever allow a private bank to issue your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around it will leave your children homeless in the land that we conquered.
Absolutely.
And we've got 1 million Americans that lost their homes, Grandma. If we had bailed out,
A million is putting it lightly.
if we had
2003 or 2004, we've had 30,000 Americans per state, per times 50, losing their homes. And that averages 2.5 persons per household. That doesn't include the farms that we've lost or the businesses that we've lost. Oh, and you know, somebody's got to wake up.
now, the 9th plank on the Communist Manifesto is corporate farms. 7th plank is government ownership of agriculture. And right now, evidently they know something's going on because they are putting in these huge corporate farms over in Saudi Arabia.
I saw that. We talked about that once before.
Yes. They and
let me tell you something. This country was founded so people could have their own rights, their ways of making a living, and not for somebody to tell them how to make a living, but the way. That's what free enterprise is about. That's what you get out there and you've got to go out and mow your garden. Okay, well, so here comes some knucklehead down the road and says, oh, now you can't use that, oh, do you have a permit? You gotta use my hole and buy a permit. That's bullshit.
and you got to buy our seeds. Those seeds that you're using, we don't own those. Well, we own these. We want you to use these, and you got to buy them from us every year.
I know it, and it just grabs me to no end. Well, you know, back years, I hope Pastor Joey is listening. And back years ago, before the American Revolution, they started this license business, and And there was a poor old minister that had been out tending to his flock. And lo and behold, they hear a bunch of riders come up and they said, "Do you have a license to preach to the people?" He said, "No." They took that man and flogged him and damn near beat him to death. Because he didn't have a license. Well, this thing has got just that corrupt right now. And I don't know how many of you have ever read the sentence, but by Jove, I think you better pull it out and take a look at it.
I did that. I think it was 2 years ago. On the 4th of July, I read the Declaration of Independence, and it could have been almost word for word what was happening then is happening now. I mean, all you had to do.
Insert the administration, the U.S. administration, into where King George was, and there you got it. It's the same damn thing.
By the way, you know, back on this China issue, and share in the chat room, Max is saying, you know, the people have been too fluoridated to be able to make any intelligent decisions. They're too fluoridated to wake up. And we're talking.
I think they're too lazy to wake up. Now, here's what I'm being confronted with. Clay, you know yourself, I've been trying to get these republics underwritten since when, 94?
Yes.
And all I sit here with is a mouthful of one and a handful of gimme, and everybody wanted to be a chief and nobody wanted to be an Indian. Nobody wants to get in and do the grunt work. Well, it's going to be my way. We only got 3 weeks. About 3 weeks. It's going to be my way. And it's sad. It is actually sad that this is happening. But it is happening. Now, as I said, I've been at this since 94. And Clay, you are God's witness to this. And damn it, do you see any movement forward?
No.
I don't either.
I've been reporting on this since 1994. I've been putting it in the magazine, and the only thing I've got is demonized, and people tried to kill me.
Well,
now, let me this is kind of an aside. I did this last night. I was talking about this on the show. Google Earth has they have come up with pictures of ghost cities in China.
Yeah.
These are cities that are built complete skyscrapers, office buildings.
I saw that.
And nobody in it. No cars, no people walking around. Maybe 100 cars at the government office. And some of these locations are in the middle of the Mongolian desert. Now there's no.
Tell you something.
Well, something, you know, and of course, being one of what the government calls a conspiracy theorist, it's like, what do they prefer? They prepared these cities for somebody. What are they planning on doing? Rounding us up and flying us over there?
Well, honey, you know, nobody's giving a thought to all of the space stations out there. That's where all the filthy elite is going out there and stay until they get the Earth bombed out and the Earth changes happen, and they can come back as the new Genesis, the gods of Genesis. That's what they're planning. I never will forget. 98, 99, somewhere in there, we were sitting there, and of course, Carl Wynn and, you know, Jeff Pilot, along with Dick Yeager and that bunch, you know. And we were all sitting around eating potatoes up, those big potatoes up, and bologna sandwiches, and iced tea. Well, anyway, they sat around, we were talking about it, and a couple of the guys, you know, and they were working pretty close there with the presidents. One of the pilots was, they had told one of the pilots he had to be on a 24-hour call because they expected something to happen, and they wanted to get the presidents and Congress out and get them to a safe area. But he couldn't take his family. And he said, look, He said, my family is more important to me than all of you. He said, now if you want to get out, Colorado's further protected. He said, you want to go to Colorado? He said, fly yourselves, because all of us are going